Hey YouTube, welcome to another episode of News in 2 Minutes, bringing you the news that you need to know every day. Let's begin. Protests are continuing in Egypt today, although media surrounding the event is unusually quiet. What will be the largest protest since the 2011 Egyptian revolution has split the country into two groups, either in support of the current hardline president Mohamed Morsi and his fathering group, the Muslim Brotherhood, or against him. As media outlets make only the occasional mention of the protests, video that we see out of the country shows extreme violence with large mobs of people beating opposing group members, gunfights in the streets, and groups setting fire to entire buildings and neighborhoods. With this, we are quick to remember that the 2011 Egyptian revolution was approved by Western nations, all of which called for then-President Mubarak to resign with nearly unanimous approval and institution of the current inexorable Islamist leadership of Mohamed Morsi. Gold has fallen to a 3-year low and has posted its worst quarterly loss in more than 40 years. Researchers at Goldman Sachs note that hedges against gold show the current low to be nearby as dealers in the UK continue to post record purchases. The World Health Organization has revised its recommendations surrounding the MERS coronavirus to include recent findings that suggest a 2-week incubation period for symptoms to show themselves, and the need for lower respiratory specimens to identify the disease. New information surrounding the U.S. spying program PRISM has been released showing detailed interactions between the NSA and global communications companies. One particular slide dated April 5th of this year shows over 100,000 active targets but fails to name how many Americans are on that list. The slide goes on to show an undeniable relationship between the NSA and major companies throughout the world as they work together to build a database that categorizes citizens based on a perception of threat rather than actions. The global evolution of using protests to show discontent has taken hold of the world as Chilean protesters seen here lined up by the thousands this week demanding changes to their society and their government. The protests, like many we've seen, started with noble causes and quickly turned into a show of unrest as people around the world continue to demand change. And to wrap things up, journalists in Greece are working for free to bring independent media to the public. Hundreds of protesters clashed with police in South Africa in a protest against U.S. President Barack Obama, and 2 5.0s in Peru and Tajikstan have made for the biggest earthquakes in the last 24 hours. And that's it for this episode of News in 2 Minutes. Check back tomorrow for more news that the aware need the most. This week's News in 2 Minutes is brought to you by SHTFplan.com, where even the officials go for news.